What's going on YouTube? Keith Moore Jr. here. Welcome back to another episode of Road to the Ring. So I'm warming up here, performing squats on the Bosu ball, and I have a resistance band that I'm doing lat pull downs with. I have my hands in a supinated grip for this. So not only am I working my legs, quads, and getting those glutes and hips activated, but I'm also working the shoulders, getting those warmed up. Now here, I'm not squatting down, I'm doing a squat hold while performing the lat pull downs behind the head. And this movement here definitely gets the shoulders activated. You will feel the burn on this, I promise you. And be sure you're doing it on both sides. Now here, I am going into a lunge and I am doing a reverse fly with the resistance band. So I'm doing one leg first, and as you come down on that lunge, you want to be sure that you're pulling that band out and you want to bring it back as far as you can. So I started off with a pronated grip with the resistance band, and then I transitioned to a supinated grip. Once again, this is going to burn the shoulders. This is a great movement for stabilization as well. You will feel the burn in the legs for sure with this, as well as the shoulders. So typically when I get to the boxing gym, I'll do a good warm up because these workouts are very intense with my coach. So I typically warm up anywhere from about 5 to 7 minutes with my coach, but that's after doing my own warm up before we even get started for anywhere between 5 to 10 minutes. So sometimes my total warm-up time may be 10 minutes, sometimes it may be 15, really depending on how I feel that day. But a good warm-up definitely has a great impact on my performance, especially when I'm training. I don't feel tight or anything. And somebody that's been plagued with injuries in the past like myself, I definitely want to make sure to warm up properly. So this particular day for the warm-up session, as you all can see, I'm doing push-ups now on the Bosu ball. My coach is telling me when to come down and when to come up, so that's why you all see the pause there. So specifically on this day, it was a longer warm-up. So my warm-up with my coach was about 10 minutes, and then the warm-up I did on my own was about 5 to 7 minutes on this day. The stuff I do on my own is just putting a resistance band around my ankles, doing lateral band steps, mainly focused on getting those glutes activated because I have had problems with my glute not being activated in the past, which did cause knee pain for me. So now we're just doing push-ups on the other side, same thing, pausing at the bottom, coming up what my coach tells me to, just getting everything activated. You all can see those shoulders being stimulated here on this movement. Now it's time to begin the workout. All right, so working on lateral movement here, just performing lateral steps, lateral hops here. It's very important to not only focus on your movement going forward and backwards, but to focus on the lateral movement as well. That's very important in boxing because you do have to move side to side as well as forward and back, but you definitely want to be quick in both directions. All right, so this is still kind of part of the warm-up, I would say, but I definitely felt this, so I'm going to say that it was the start of the workout. All right, now here we're doing the drill where I'm going in and out. I'm just going forward, going backwards, trying to keep those steps small. Once again, now we're not only working on the lateral movement, but the movement forward and backwards as well. Essentially all the movements that need to be performed in the ring. One of the great things about having a great, knowledgeable coach to train with is we are working on everything. We're not just coming in the gym just hitting the bag or hitting the pads. We're working on those techniques and fundamentals. And now here I'm simulating a boxing movement. Hands are up. I do need to get my elbows in tighter, which my coach is telling me here, and also he's showing me how to actually move around, essentially as if I'm in the boxing ring. And the main thing I can tell you on what he's telling me now, be sure to keep the small steps, be sure to keep the elbows in, and then, you know, don't overextend myself when I'm coming forward and coming backwards. So definitely pretend like I am in there with an opponent. So this is a great drill that is going to help me with my overall movement, but also while I'm making those movements, keep my hands up, because I do have a tendency to drop my left hand. It's just a bad habit I developed over the years before having a coach. You know, when I would just go in the gym and hit the bag, my left hand would drop all the time, and that's a habit that I have to break. So as you all can see here, just keeping those elbows in, hands up. No punches now, we're just working on footwork, working on movement. And we did a couple of rounds of this, but as you all can see, just the getting started and the start of the workout, it's no punching involved yet. We're working on defense, but this is a workout in itself. All right, now we're doing a different type of movement, essentially just all lateral steps, and then we were coming back around, and then we're repeating that over and over. So total time, I don't know how long I did this for. I can't remember. Typically I will do these type of things for a round, depending on what the movement is. But on today in particular, I don't remember the exact time, but this is my first time doing this drill. It kind of reminded me of basketball a little bit when I used to have to do defensive slides. Now that I'm doing boxing, it makes me kind of regret quitting basketball, but I have a good reason, because I ruptured my Achilles. All right, now here we're working on some shadow boxing where I am throwing the jab, but I am keeping that one extended, which is working on the form to make sure I'm fully extending when I throw that jab, but also a great shoulder workout as well, because the shoulders do start burning from holding that resistance band out. So making sure I step with the jab here. And another thing, if you look at my feet, I tend to take bigger steps than needed. So here my coach is also showing me to take my head off the center when I throw that one, so that I'm not leaving myself susceptible to being countered. So I need to, you know, move my head when I throw that one. That's another thing I really have to work on. So when I'm looking at film here and assessing everything, I'm looking at all my weaknesses and then processing that, and then, you know, telling myself I need to improve on this. Now here I was throwing the one up top and one to the body, and you know, my coach is making sure I get that head off center, and also that I am standing upright. So when I'm throwing the jab to the body, sometimes it's either too low or I'm moving my body forward rather than keeping my body, you know, straight up and down. And I'm also working on throwing the jab going back here as well. So taking that step back, extending that arm out on the jab. So as you all can see, I'm still holding the jab for a little bit. And now here's where my coach is showing me, you know, when I'm throwing to the body, I'm leaning forward. You cannot do that, because you will get caught with a overhand right if you're doing that, especially if it's somebody quick. So now working on that here, keeping that body straight, not leaning forward, not off balance. So that's homework that I have for myself and that my coach has given me, in addition to working on my footwork and the spacing between my feet, because I have a really bad habit of taking big steps and then the spacing in my feet becomes too wide. So now I'm throwing the two here, same thing, taking that head off the center and leaving that two out. That's a little low right there. I need to bring that two to the body up higher. So that's, you know, that's why we watch film, assess things, and see what improvements we need to make. So I'm holding that two out, feeling this in the shoulders as well, but this is going to make things that much easier when I'm shadow boxing without the resistance band. Now I'm throwing the 2 forward and then the 2 going backwards. So just working on form and footwork here, nice and slow. All right, next up we got the 1-2 repeated, and this is a shoulder burn for sure. So we're extending that 1 and 2 all the way out, taking our time, no rush here. And something I do see, I do need to turn that back foot when I'm throwing the 2. So that's something that I will work on. All right, now we are working on the bag, but specifically working on my foot movement and my rolls and slips and constantly moving and getting my head off the center when throwing punches. So this is actually a great drill to work on those pivots and get back to the center of the opponent. This is actually very tiring as well. You all will see shortly here. You know, I have to catch my breath when getting back to the center of the bag. That's me right there. So when I take those breaks, quick breaks like that, that's me trying to, you know, get my wind back, which over time that is going to get better. I just have to continue doing things like running in intervals, doing sprints and things like that. But here, you know, this is something that I really need to work on, especially my rolls. Be sure that I'm getting low enough and bending at the waist. I've gotten way better, but there are still plenty of improvements that I can make here. All right, now next up, got a just different view for you. Same drill, just different round. So now we're adding some additional punches to the combinations. And then also when I roll under, I eventually need to start working on that pivot, which you all will see me work on here shortly. But now I'm just making sure to get that footwork down, rolling, slipping, constantly moving, keeping the head off the center when I throw punches. There we go. Now I'm strictly defense at this point. So rolling, stepping back, coming back in. So defense is extremely important. A great defense can create great offense. So working on all facets of the game here. All right, next up here, now I'm working on that pivot. So I'm rolling under, then doing a pivot, not punching yet, but this is more difficult than it looks. So as you all can see, my coach, he's a natural with it. He did it extremely easy. My goal is to get to that point, and then after I roll, pivot, then I have to pivot back and roll back under. So I need to make that motion more fluid, and that's one of the things that's going to come with repetition. I'm going to do a video on that at some point, repetition, just practicing, you know, however many reps or hours, the same thing over and over, so that I can stress the importance of that. That's an important thing that, you know, Bruce Lee used to talk about, mastering one thing before trying to master a bunch of different things. So there are some things in boxing that I really want to focus on trying to master. So as you all can see here, I'm still working the bag, still working on those rolls, slips, and then just making sure my footwork is right on that pivot. So now here, my coach is telling me about throwing the overhand right as I roll under, which is going to be devastating if I'm able to catch an opponent with this. Yep, so as I'm rolling, I'm throwing the overhand, which is something I've never done before. Here you all just see me working after, you know, my coach gave me some lessons and instructions. So just getting a good round in here. All right, next up, now it's all on me to hit the bag, just constantly moving. This is a great workout for endurance as well, just hitting the bag during the session, but not just hitting the bag aimlessly, working on specifically what I just worked on with my coach, rolling, slipping, constantly throwing punches and keeping the head off the center, which is something I need to work on when throwing my punches, and constantly, as my coach would say, stay ticky, stay busy, on all of these movements. All right, so that wraps up the video for today's Road to the Ring. Please don't forget to subscribe to the channel, like the video, and I will see you all in the next Road to the Ring. Peace.